A few years ago, I became interested in learning English. I started on my own. I became fluent by learning on the internet for free. I haven't gone to any language institute and yet still I learned English. How did I do it? I followed certain steps which I've combined and turned into a 7-step framework that you can use to learn any language fast. But first, if you're new to this channel, my name is Asim. I'm a polyglot. I can speak Pashto, Urdu, Hindi, and English. I'm currently learning a little bit of Japanese and Arabic. Let's get started with the first step. When you're learning any language, you must start with why. Starting with why is so important because it gives you a direction. Knowing your why will keep you motivated when things get hard, and it will save you a lot of time. It saved me a lot of time as well. Recently, I started learning Japanese. My goal with it is to understand animes without subtitles, so I started directly with listening. I completely skipped reading, writing, hiragana, which are like Japanese alphabets, and also Japanese grammar. I didn't touch any of those. I directly started with listening because I know my goal, and listening is the best way to get there, in my opinion. So if you know your why clearly, if you know your goal clearly, it will save you a lot of time. Before you start to learn a language, ask yourself these questions. What's my goal with it? Why am I learning this language? What would I like to get out of it? Will this language benefit me in the future in some way, or will it not? What's my goal or purpose with it? Get clear on your why, get clear on your goal, and then according to your goal, take action. The second step is to learn the basics. A lot of people skip this. They directly jump into grammar or listening or reading. But learning some basic phrases is super important. With language learning, you want to consider it like you're climbing a ladder or stairs. You want to do it step by step. If you skip too many steps, you might fall down. You don't want to bite off more than you can chew. If you take a big step, you might get discouraged. For example, if you just started learning English today and you watch an American movie and you don't understand, then you might think, oh, this learning English thing is very difficult. I cannot do it. That's why learning some basic phrases is essential. Like learn to say good morning, thank you, you're welcome, good evening, good night. Learn how to introduce yourself in that language. And then once you become more comfortable, you can move on to other steps. Which is why the third step of learning a language is to pick something to watch. Humans have been learning languages from thousands of years ago up until now through listening. When a baby is born, it listens to its parents and that's how it learns a language. A baby doesn't read books or write or study grammar. No. He just sits there and listens to people around him. A child is completely surrounded by the language it's learning. That's why being in the environment of your target language is so important. That's how you will learn English or whatever the language you're learning. You need to pick something to watch. You need to pick something to listen to. I would say two things here. First, listen to something that's appropriate for your level. So if you're a beginner and you watch American movies and you don't understand, well, you've picked up the wrong thing to listen to. For beginners, I would recommend watching cartoons because they're pretty easy to understand. For intermediate level English learners, I would recommend YouTube videos like this one because it's not too difficult but it's also not too easy. For advanced level English learners, you can watch animes, cartoons, movies, TV shows, whatever you like. And second, listen to something that's enjoyable for you, that's fun for you. You might not like listening to podcasts because for some people they're boring as hell. If you're one of those, then you don't have to do that. Just pick something that's enjoyable for you and that's fun for you so that you enjoy learning English a lot more and you don't give up. The next step of learning a language is to read children's books. The reason why I recommend children's books for language learners is because children's books are pretty easy to understand. They're made for children, so the vocabulary is very simple. It's not too difficult. Anybody can understand them. A few months ago, my sister came up to me and she told me that she wanted to learn new English words for her exams. Basically, she wanted to improve her vocabulary. I told her to get some children's story books because they're pretty engaging. You know the type of books. On one page there is like some pictures of the story, and then there are like a few lines about that story. I've looked through those books and I would highly recommend them for beginners. Just go to your local bookstore or a library and ask them if they have children's story books. I'm sure they would have. If you're learning English, then they're going to be easy to find because English is like a global language. It's kind of like famous in every country. If you're learning a language like French, then it might be difficult to get like physical books, but you can still order them from Amazon or you can read them online in PDF. The next step of learning a language is to talk with yourself. By this stage, you should be able to say few sentences and speak a little bit. It's okay if you're not confident enough to go out there and have conversations with other people. You don't have to do that yet. From now on, just sit in front of a mirror. Choose a topic like an easy topic, for example, daily activities or self-introduction, and practice it with yourself. Do this for like 20 minutes every single day for the next 30 days, and then you should be able to move on to the next step, which is find a speaking partner. This will be life-changing. You only need 2 or 3 people to practice. Talking with other people is super important because of feedback. When you're just speaking with yourself, you don't notice your mistakes. You cannot give feedback to yourself when you're talking in the moment because you're focused on speaking. But when you're talking with another person, they can easily notice your mistakes. They can point them out for you and they can tell you and you can correct them. And that's how you get better. Now the question is, how do you find speaking partners? Facebook groups. Join Facebook groups about your interests which are in your target language. Maybe you like boxing, volleyball, soccer, football, whatever you like. Join groups about those topics. In those groups, you will come across people who you might like, or you might want to connect with them, you might want to become friends with them. In that case, just DM them. Don't be shy. Directly text them. Try to become friends with them. And once you're comfortable with them, you can invite them to have a call with you. And that's how you can practice your language skills. That brings us to the last step of the framework, which is to choose and learn an accent. Most people ignore this. They say accent is not important, you should not focus on it, it doesn't matter which accent you speak with. I don't agree with most of these statements. I think learning and having an accent makes a big difference because first, it's easier for people to understand you. If you speak with a popular accent, for example, if you're learning English and you speak with American accent or British accent, it will be easier for people to understand you than if you speak with your local accent. So just choose an accent that sounds nice to you and stick with it. In the beginning of my English learning journey, I loved British English, so I was listening to British English all the time. I was copying them. I was trying to sound like British people. But then later on, like a few years ago, I switched to American English because it sounded better in my opinion. The way you improve and learn an accent is by following the imitation method. Here is how it works. First, you find someone whose accent you want to copy. Second, listen to them when they speak. Pay close attention to their pronunciation, enunciation, how they connect words and sentences. And third, practice and try to sound like them. When you have a conversation in your target language, speak with that accent. At least try. If you do this enough every single day, eventually you will pick up that person's accent a little bit. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, then you might like that video as well, in which I shared a 4-step system that will make you fluent in English. Go and watch it then. Okay, I hope this lesson was helpful. See you in the next one. Bye bye.